Welcome back to Dan's Messy Garage. This is going to be part two of changing the heater core on a 78 Mustang II with air conditioning. I'm not going to be able to work real long in here today, so it could possibly be a short video. I mean, it's 4:35 in the afternoon. I turned my heat on in here like 9 o'clock this morning, and this is the first chance I got to get in the garage. It's been one of those crazy hectic days. So I'm going to get right into it and start unhooking things. I need to unhook the heater hoses, then I need to unbolt the heater box assembly from the firewall. There's 3 studs that come through it, nuts on them. They're probably going to be a pain to get to, but I'll get her done. Wow, right off the bat, the first thing I try to do turns into a pain. There's a couple heater hose clamps down there that I really can't get onto. They're really kind of jammed up close to the firewall. Then there's a lip above them here that blocks access. I had to get a bunch of different tools to try to get on there. I'm going to need an extension with a universal joint, and this day's just not starting off real easy. Oh, yep, you're right. Yeah, I hear you guys yelling. Just do it. Shut up. Get to work. Do it. Okay, I will. It's time for another rant. I go to car shows, at least 2 car shows a week. And since I'm always working on cars, like let's say today I'm doing heater hoses, when I'm at the car show, I'll look at all the other cars, different manufacturers, and look at their heater hoses. And this is what gripes me about Fords. And yes, I'm a Ford guy. Ford seems to like to figure out the most difficult way to make something so it's harder to work on. And that's the way they go. Like other cars, these heater hose connections will be up in an area where you could get to them. The clamps won't be hidden behind flanges, and it's just, simple. Well, these are difficult, and I can't get them off. Yes, I can cut the hoses. That's not going to solve the issue. I still need to get the hose and the clamp off the heater core because the clamp is not going to fit through the opening in the firewall. Um, it's just a rant, just now I'm looking at the bolts that hold the heater box on. Looks like there's 4, 3 here and 1, of course, way over there down behind the engine. Would other companies do that? No, they wouldn't. But they also, other companies, if you're using, let's say, this 3/8 socket to do something, the bolts holding that item will be 3/8, or nowadays it's 10 millimeters. On a Ford, you'll have a 3/8, you'll have a quarter, you'll have a 5/16, you'll have Phillips. Everything, like all the fasteners are different, holding the same thing on. Pointless. All right, my rant's over. I got to get back to work. Really can't position the camera show you what I'm fighting with here. With those clamps, they are the vertical style. You can see it's moving around easy. I got the screw on it super loose, ready to fall out, but the clamp itself doesn't want to release or get bigger, so I can get it off the heater hose. Because if I can get the clamp off the heater hose, then I could take an X-Acto knife and slice the heater hose and get it out of there. But I can't get the clamp to come off the end of the hose. The clamp refuses to get bigger. And I hope this whole part 2 video isn't me taking 2 heater hoses off the car, because that'd be ridiculous. Back to work. Okay, happy, joy. I got them off. Look at this. Got another one of those friggin' things right here on this valve. At least this one I can fight with in a better environment, let's say, out here where I can get to it. First, I'm gonna squirt some penetrating oil on there. Get the 3/8. See, that doesn't want to turn. Get the ratchet and a socket. Get on there. Turning, but hot. Shoot. Okay, this just got more interesting. That screw broke off, so now there's no real easy way to get that clamp loose. I'm going to have to get my die grinder, cut it, but I don't want to cut too deep and wreck this vacuum operated valve, because this thing shuts the flow to the heater core off when the air conditioner is running. And that's probably an obsolete part, probably an expensive part. I'm just going to have to cut it. I cut it up higher. Can you even see what I'm doing? Cut it up higher so I didn't get into wrecking this part. Now I should be able to pry this apart so I can get that clamp to release. All right, so I got the clamp to release. Now I can peel the clamp off. See if I can do this from here. Oh, I hit the garbage can, but it bounced out. But I had the perfect trajectory. Is on site, is hit it right in the center. That's what I'm saying. All right, so now I'm going to try to spread this hose to break it free from the valve. Now, will that valve come out? Oh, that came out easy. Now, I just took it off this end. There's an arrow with the flow. So this is coming from the intake. Right by the thermostat. So the water, hot water is coming out of the engine. It's going through the valve into the heater core. So I'm going to look in here and see if this valve actually works. I'm not seeing anything move. Wouldn't that be a pisser? I go through all this to save it and it's bad. Yeah. Think I'm going to worry about that once I get everything back together. Make it inaccessible to pull it out and fix it. I'm just kidding. I'll check into it before I get that far. Next up, I'm going to take these studs off the firewall that hold the whole heater box assembly to the car. This is turning into a rant video. I have another one. Okay. Right down here is the stud that nut is on. This right here is the dipstick tube for the trans. That stud is sticking out a good 1.5 inches. So you're going to need a deep well socket. You can't get the socket on there because the dipstick tube is in the way. So I'm going to have to use like a ratchet wrench or something. But why? Just why? Look at all the room that dipstick could be in a different location. Just a 1/2 inch one way or the other would allow access. Okay, back to work. Crawling the car. They have 2 screws that hold this whole box to the car. There's one right here, the screw goes vertically, one over here horizontally. Thought I had the camera turned on. I didn't. Go ahead, fire me. I screwed up again. This one little bracket was up here. I don't know if you can see it, but it was like that. And the bolt went horizontally through the heater assembly through the bracket. Took that off. The other one has a bolt that goes vertically. I started to take that apart, and I'm thinking there's got to be an evaporator drain tube. Either goes through the floor or in through the firewall. I checked it out. I even read the directions first. And in the shop manual, it says to remove the drain tube from the firewall. Okay, that told me where it was. I went in there. There's a little cover or diverter plate screwed on to the firewall, and the drain tube is behind that. I unbolted that, bent it out of the way, and I can feel the tube. It's kind of rubbery. So it wasn't anything sticking like out the firewall. It was just more or less like a rubber nipple. So I'm thinking that this box is ready to come out. So I'm going to move this instrument panel away a little bit. It's got some lines here. What are these? Okay, one is the antenna wire. The other one, electrical wire going into the, no, there's no lights in the door. All right, it's not electrical wire. That's a remote mirror cable. Anyways, like I said, I'm going to end up stopping for tonight once I get this out of here. It's not going well. So see if I can get this clip off that holds those 2 things on, the antenna wire and the cable going to the remote mirror. Oh boy. Some of you guys might be new to the channel and haven't watched my other series of videos, but Murphy lives in my garage. He's here all the time, making sure things just don't go well. And he's here today. Let me try to move this stuff out of the way. Hey, Murphy, why don't you hang on to that wire over here? Okay. And moving that stuff to give me a chance at getting this out of here. Got one bolt holding it in there right now. Take that bolt out. Okay, now this whole thing should drop down. I'm going to need to pull it away from the firewall because it had 1.5 inch long stud. That stud was a real pisser. You know, it's the longest stud. It's the one that's blocked by the dipstick tube. I had to take a ratchet wrench and actually ratchet the whole nut. I mean, the nut off the entire way because it was just too hard to turn by hand. Yeah, never mind. Just shut up. Get this done already. All right. Well, this is going to be real fun to get back in here. It's coming. I can already tell it's pretty heavy. All right. Got it on the floor. That's half the battle. Now I got to get it out of here. You know what? I'm going to call all that good enough. Let me crawl out of the car and get this thing out of here. And then I'm going to stop this video. All right, first let me take a peek at the drain tube. Yeah, it's see if I can zoom in on that, show you what I'm talking about here. It's this big rubbery thing here, and this just seals against the firewall, and the drain tube is right here. Really wasn't anything to unhook from the car. I was expecting like a hose or something, but there wasn't. So that's going to be a lot easier to put in this way. But that's going to be the end of this part 2 video of changing a heater core in a 78 Mustang with air conditioning. The air conditioning part makes all this works. But in part 3, I'm actually going to take this apart and replace the heater core. I don't know how far I'm going to get to putting it all back into the car. That remains to be seen. But today's Friday. I'm not going to be able to work on this again until at least Monday. So it's going to be a couple days before part 3 comes out. But thanks for watching Dan's Messy Garage. And I hope you do come back for part 3. And, like everybody else on YouTube, like, subscribe, ring the bell, blah, blah, blah. Have a good evening.